Hello there! Retro, vintage, original. This is the vintage REVO Series Surfmaster Thinline, and it's a new guitar for 2024, part of the vintage brand's REVO Series, retro, vintage, original guitars. Now you'll have probably seen these guitars around online because they've been kind of launched for about a year or so, and I've seen them at various events and trade shows and stuff like that, but they've only recently made it out into dealers. And I do have to tell you up front that this guitar was sent to me by Music Vine, Vintage's German distribution partner, to make this video, so just so you know that. But these guitars are going to be new in stores as you're seeing this video, and what I wanted to do today is tell you everything you might need to know about the Surfmaster Thinline. So we'll first start with the specs and the features of this instrument, then I'll play it for you in as many different musical styles as I can possibly manage, and afterwards I'll give you my full and detailed opinions about this instrument because I've had it out on loan now for a couple of weeks and I've played it an awful lot in that time. Timestamps to everything down there in the comments and the description if you'd like to skip to the part of the video that best suits you. But let's start with the specs and features of this guitar. Now, the vintage REVO series is designed by the Vintage design team along with Alan Entwistle, who's by now an iconic figure in the guitar design industry. He's been around for decades and has come out with so many different innovations, many of which are in this guitar. Now, the Surfmaster, you can quite clearly see, is an offset style of instrument. Kind of reminds you a bit of a Jazzmaster, kind of reminds me of a Charvel Surfcaster or a Dan Electro Dead On 67 or something like that. But it's a very cool looking guitar, familiar at first glance, but unique and very different as you delve into what else is on the guitar. Now, it's between Fender and Squier in terms of price point. That's the way I like to look at it. It'll set you back around 500 British pounds in the UK, or between $500 and $600 or euros in the rest of the world. I've seen fluctuating prices online, so have a look around, see where you find the best deal that works for you. Now, what do you get for that price? Well, you get this beautiful Greenburst finish on this guitar. It's a fantastic looking instrument, double bound, as you can see as well. What a beautiful green to black that is. A really, really nice, classy looking guitar. And again, the double binding there, really, really nice. And the binding extends to the neck as well. Now, the body is made of a kume, which should help with the weight issues that you sometimes have with guitars like this. And the fact that it's thin line should help us there too. Look, we've got an F-hole here and we've got definitely a chamber over there, although I suspect it's solid on this side of the guitar. Now, on the body of the guitar itself, we've got some stuff that looks familiar to offset users. Fans of offset guitars will instantly be familiar with this. We've got a retro style offset vibrato and a roller bridge here as well. And we've got two Filtertron-esque Alan Entwistle designed Nashville Classic pickups. Now, according to the Vintage site, these are the ND pickups, so they've got neodymium magnets in them. So these are going to be very interesting sounding humbucking pickups. So this should be a quiet guitar in terms of operation, but it should give us lovely classic spanky Filtertron-esque tones. We've got a three-way selector switch there to move between the pickups, a volume control and a tone control, and the eagle-eyed among you will have noticed that up here we have another five-way rotary sort of switch, and this is called the ATN-5 Variator switch. Now, this is a five-way rotary control that gives you different tonal options per pickup setting. So as well as the standard 3 different pickup selection options, we've got 5 different choices for each of those. So there's a total of 15 different tonal options available with this guitar, and you are going to hear all of them at some point during the playing part of this video, so there's a lot of riffs to get through today. But this is something you might have seen on certain Gibson semi-acoustic guitars, or at least something similar with their Varitone. Now, I've found a bit of information online about the ATN-5. What it's basically doing is giving us different EQing sort of options. I don't know exactly how it does it because that's not explained online, but if you look at the Revelation Guitars website, which Alan Entwistle also designed, and I've put a link to that right down in the description, you can see that the ATN-5 gives us these 5 different positions, and with it 5 different tonal options per pickup setting, giving you extra versatility depending on the style of music that you're making. And of course, combining that with judicious use of the volume and tone controls means that this guitar should be able to do pretty much anything tonally, and we're about to find that out in the remainder of the video. But moving up to the neck of the Surfmaster Thinline, well, we've got 22 medium jumbo frets with block inlays on what is a Jatoba fingerboard, a 0 fret as well, if that's of interest. We've also got a Graphtec nut, and if I turn us over to the back, you can see that we've got a lovely vintage tinted maple neck with a skunk stripe as well. Looks really cool, and we've got a poly finish on there 2. 24 3/4 or 628mm scale length here. And Vintage don't tell us what the fingerboard radius is, but it feels fairly nice and modern Fender-ish to me, so maybe 9.5 inches, something like that. Not super rounded, not super flat. It's going to fit everybody, as is the neck profile, which is a medium to slightly chunky C shape to my hand anyway. So a very nice feeling neck, and up at the headstock there, we've got 6-in-line Wilkinson Deluxe Easy Lock tuners, which should help keep this beast in tune no matter how much I wiggle that wiggle stick. So this is the vintage REVO Surfmaster Thinline, and what we're going to do next is play it. Now, if you're an Offset Guitars fan, I'm sure you like alternative rock and punk and grunge and noise rock and stuff like that, and we're going to do that. We're going to do loads of stuff, but we're going to also, in true Rich Words music style, see how versatile we can make this guitar. So I'm going to play it in as many different genres as I possibly can, using my standard rig. That's going to be my Hughes & Kettner Black Spirit 200 amp head. We'll use a number of the amp's different channels. We'll use some different drive pedals, maybe a delay and a reverb as well, to spice things up for some ambient stuff, because that's also great with offset guitars. Again, timestamps to everything down there if you'd like to skip through to the genres which suit you best. But enough talk. This is the vintage REVO Surfmaster Thinline. Let's play it now, and we'll speak in a bit more detail about it afterwards. Okay then, so that was the vintage REVO Series Surfmaster Thinline, and I hope you enjoyed the playing and the tones. And yes, there were a lot of tones to get through in this video, but that's because we've got so many options with this ATN-5 and the three-way pickup selector switch there, so I had to play a lot of riffs for you, and I do really hope that you enjoyed them. But let me know your thoughts down there. What are your opinions of this guitar? Is it a great addition to the offset family of instruments, or do you not need all of these extra tonal options? Looking forward to hearing what you guys think, as usual. But what I'm going to do now is give you my thoughts and my opinions on this guitar, because I really wanted to try one of these for ages as soon as I saw the REVO Series, and I was very excited when my contact Frank at Musicvine told me they had one of these that they could send me just to make a couple of videos with. So here we go, my opinions on the REVO Series Surfmaster Thinline. So my first impressions of this guitar were great from the off, and I think the first time I saw it in person was probably the NAMM show in 2023. That's probably the first time they had these guitars on display as prototypes, and I loved this one straight away and really wanted to test it out. I had my hands on it for a few seconds, as I did at NAMM 2024 as well, and Guitar Summit last year in Germany, but this is the chance to actually play it, because now you can buy one of these for yourselves too. And as soon as I got it out of the box here, well, I loved it again. That Greenburst finish is absolutely fantastic. Just take a look at that. Really lovely looking instrument, and it's got this beautiful retro familiarity to it, but the more you look at it, the more you realize this is a guitar that's been designed with the modern player in mind. I also love the block inlays on the Jatoba fingerboard. Yes, I would have preferred a rosewood fingerboard, but there you go, you can't always have that. And I love the vintage tint and the skunk stripe on this maple neck. So it's a fantastic looking guitar, and again, my first impressions were really good with this instrument. Then I picked it up and I was happy with the weight. Now, often more affordable guitars can be a bit too heavy, but this specific guitar weighs 3.5 kilograms. That's about 7 pounds 11 and a bit. So not too heavy, and below my kind of 8-pound limit where I start getting a bit less comfortable with an instrument. Now, because this is a thin line, it could have perhaps been a tiny bit lighter, but as I said, it's not too heavy for me, and it's a largish guitar, but it doesn't feel heavy, if you know what I mean, and it balances really well, and it's really comfortable to play and wear and to use standing up as well as sitting down. So not too bad in that regard at all either. And the next thing that I looked at was the build quality of this guitar, and I can't fault it really. There's no issues with it whatsoever straight out of the box. Now, this is a guitar that I think may have been used on the odd trade show before. Maybe it was the one that I actually saw at NAMM in Los Angeles a year ago, but whatever, it's still in great condition, and there are no obvious finish flaws or anything like that. I suspect that this guitar will have had a setup before it made its way to me, but it came set up really well out of the box as well. Now, often a big issue with affordable vibrato bridges is going to be tuning stability, but this one's rock solid. I really didn't have to retune it at all during the playing part of this video, and I've only had to tune it a couple of times since getting it, so that's really impressive. And the combination of this roller bridge and the Wilkinson Deluxe Easy Lock tuners and the well-cut Graphtec nut are clearly doing their job there. So in terms of build quality, I'm really impressed. Next, I plugged in and started to play, and this guitar plays like a bit of a dream, to be honest with you. It plays really nicely. It's got that vintage feel to it because of the body, of course, and the neck is kind of vintage in feeling, but it plays like a modern guitar. Now, this specific example has been set up very well. The action and the intonation are dead on. Like I said, the tuning is rock solid with the vibrato bridge too, so it's a real joy to play and just let the riffs flow. Now, I love my indie and alternative rock. I do love using a little offset vibrato bridge if it stays in tune, and this one does. And with clean stuff and with some extra reverb and delay, I could just noodle ambient stuff and indie rock stuff for hours on end, which I have been doing for the past couple of weeks. So that's always a good sign if you can lose yourself in the music with a guitar. But this is a very comfy neck. I don't think it's going to put anybody off for being too fat or for being too slim. It's going to work for pretty much everybody. My personal opinion is that I would always prefer a satin neck over a poly neck, but that's a taste thing as well. There are no tummy cuts with this guitar or anything like that. It's solid slabs of wood, so if that's an issue you might want to look elsewhere, but it's really comfortable for me to play, and you've got great upper fret access as well, so if that's your thing, well, there are no borders when it comes to this guitar. So in the playability stakes, I rate it very highly indeed. And the next thing that we need to talk about, of course, is the sounds of these Alan Entwistle Nashville Classic Filtertron style pickups. With Filtertrons, you're always going to get something a bit different. They're humbucking, but they're very classic leaning, and you get lovely sparkly jangly sounds, ideal for offset style guitars, of course, and you would expect a guitar like this to excel in the worlds of indie and alt rock and stuff like that, and I'm happy to announce that it does do that. But this guitar does a whole lot more than that as well. These pickups are incredibly versatile, and with the 3-way switch and this 5-way ATN Variator control as well, you can play pretty much anything. It's a wonderfully versatile guitar, and I would challenge you to try this one out and not be able to make it make at least 1 or 2 sounds that you really, really like. Now, I started with the guitar set very clean with just a smidgen of reverb on my amp, and straight away we were getting lovely jangly sounds, lots of treble and bite in the tone too. Exactly what you would expect from a guitar like this, in fact. So it's great for indie, and it's great for strumming and stuff like that, great for arpeggios too, but roll back to the neck pickup or use some of the different ATN-5 selector settings, and well, you've got a perfect guitar for everything from funk and country and folk through to more edgy sort of stuff. And there is a bit of poke in this bridge humbucker. It started to break up my amp a little bit on the clean channel as well. When I kicked in my Source Audio Collider for some extra delay and reverb, well, we got amazing surf tones, we got amazing ambient stuff, post-rock stuff, and atmospheric indie as well. That's an amazing pedal, the Collider, and it will make any guitar sound like that, but this guitar is particularly well suited to that style of music, and with a few little wiggles of this wiggle stick, well, beautiful modulated reverb and delay sounds abounded. So lovely clean tones, and when we kicked in some gain pedals and some gain on the amp, well, the brilliant tones continued. With the Greer Lightspeed Organic Overdrive, I got some lovely indie and alternative rock tones, really nice and thick without being too aggressive or anything like that, beautifully jangly as well. And on the crunch channel of the amp, this guitar does some great classic rock tones. AC/DC or airborne riffs or anything like that work really, really well. Now, as you progressively add more gain to this guitar, you can see that it's getting away from its home base a bit, but on the lead channel of my amp, I thought it was fantastic for harder rock tones, for punk rock tones, and for alternative rock tones as well. You get great clarity out of these pickups, and although they're not the most modern sounding humbuckers, they do a fantastic job for higher gain stuff. When I kicked in the Rev G3 and went down to drop D tuning with the guitar, I could tell that we weren't really in the area where this guitar is at home, but it does a totally passable job for metal and stuff like that, especially if you whisk through some of the different ATN-5 settings. You'll find something that works for you. There's a lot of bottom end in these humbuckers, and they're not going to give you super tight chugging sounds, but for classic metal, they really will do a job. So it's astoundingly versatile, this guitar. It can really do pretty much anything, and again, with all the different selection options that you've got, it just works for so many different things. And what about my thoughts on the ATN-5? Well, I think it's a really useful tool, and for many people it's going to be very, very practical. For example, if you want to get some really warm jazzy tones on a clean sound, well, it's going to work for you there. Now, I'm the kind of guy who usually plays on the bridge pickup of my guitars with everything on full volumes and tones and stuff like that, so often I found that I was in the down setting here, which is the number 1, which is the ATN-5 disengaged, but I got great tones on the different settings throughout the different gain settings on the amps and the pedals. So it's a really useful thing to have, but be warned, you will be spending a lot of time fiddling between different tones and working out what is best for you. But hey, that's a creative challenge to have. And one very final thing to note with the tones is that occasionally on higher gain settings, when playing riffs and stop starting, you'd hear some ringing sounds from presumably the vibrato bridge here. This is something that I think a professional tech could remove for you with the setup, and it doesn't bother me, but just in case, it's something to be aware of, and you'll have heard it in a few of the playing settings. But overall in the sounds department, I'm hugely impressed with the Surfmaster Thinline. Now, if you've been watching this video and you're interested in this guitar, but you're wondering what else is out there, well, there are a number of different options. I would strongly suggest that you check out the rest of the vintage REVO series. There are a number of very quirky guitars in that lineup, including a Surfmaster quad model that has 4 individual pickups, so that's probably going to have even more tonal variations than this, the Surfmaster Thinline. And there's a number of others with different pickup options. They all look super retro cool, but they're going to have modern playability as well, so check those out too, and check out the rest of the vintage lineup, of course. But if you're looking for other not too dissimilar offsets, well, you're in the world of Fender and Squier. Now, the Surfmaster Thinline is going to be priced between Fender and Squier guitars, so if you want to go cheaper, look for something in the Squier Classic Vibe lineup, or if you want humbuckers specifically, go for something like a Squier Contemporary Jazzmaster or something like that. Those are going to be about $400 to $500 or euros or pounds, so slightly cheaper than the REVO. If you desperately want Fender written on the headstock though, the new Player 2 series is out. That's going to cost you about $800, so a bit more than the vintage. And if you're looking for other brands, well, don't sleep on the fantastic G&L Dahini Tribute. I've done a video on that guitar. That is a wonderful instrument. Can't recommend it highly enough. Perhaps I should compare these two guitars actually. That might be a future video, so stick around if you want to see that at some point as well. But I would also really recommend checking out some guitars by Gretsch, the Electromatic series. There you'll find a number of wonderful models with Filtertron style pickups in them as well. Those are always going to sound fantastic and give you tonal similarities to the vintage REVO here. Or check out something like the Guild Surfliner or the Larry Carlton J5. That's come out fairly recently and looks like a fantastic option in the offset category at about the same price point to the REVO series. But there are a number of different models around, and this specific guitar should definitely be on your shortlist if you're looking for something of that nature. In conclusion then, well, it's been a long wait for me to get my hands on this guitar, but finally I have, and the wait has been absolutely worth it. This is a fantastic guitar. It's so much fun, and you know what? I don't think I want to give it back. I think I want to keep this guitar for my collection. It's so different to anything else that I own, but it's so versatile, it's so fun, it sounds so good, it plays really well, the weight's decent, the balance is fine, the playability is awesome. I love that Greenburst finish. I pretty much love everything about this guitar. It's a really, really quirky but fantastic musical beast. And it sounds like it was designed specifically to excel in the genres of music that I like. For folk, for indie rock, for alternative rock, and for punk rock as well. It just is a wonderful sounding and performing guitar. So full marks from me for the vintage REVO Surfmaster Thinline. I would really recommend that you check one out if you ever get the chance. I hope that this video has answered all of the questions that you may have had about this guitar. But if there's anything else that you'd like to know, drop me a line down there in the comments and let me know if you'd like to see me check out any more of the REVO series, because there are a bunch of different options there and I'd be happy to check out more if you guys would like me to. But that's been it for today's video. I've been Rich, this has been the Surfmaster Thinline, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.